So we need to get a list together. Yeah. So if you can we don't have
All right, it's 6 o'clock, January 22nd, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'd first like to ask if anyone has any public comments. Please limit yourself to 3 minutes. Come on up, state your name and address. Any takers? No, great. Then I'm going to call the final budget public hearing, it's continued, and start by looking at the fiscal year 25 budget.
I'm in the worksheet, so you can make changes if you need to. I have spoken with two department heads since the last budget session. First was the fire chief. Due to changes in rank and changes in the step table, he feels that the numbers that were in last week's budget will absolutely not work for the 2% COLA and 7% increase. He has suggested using $257,825 for part-time employees, and for full-time employees, and $305,623 for part-time.
Did you say 285, 167?
285, 167 for full-time, 305, 623 for part-time, and his salary, he had calculated that wrong in the last budget. It came in at 92 and change as opposed to 94 and change, so I corrected that. I put those in under the BOS line in the budget you have, and I changed the ancillary costs. It made a difference of $16,067 in the ancillary costs for fire. And I don't know what the board's pleasure is, but they're in that budget now with the ancillary costs. Chief was not able to be here this evening, but he assured me that the other numbers would not work.
Do you guys want to discuss this, or do you want to discuss the other changes and have them all discussed together?
Thing that was in the agenda, is that, the thing that was in the agenda, are those numbers right? Or they're changed even from this?
Those have changed since my discussion this morning with the fire chief.
But they're in the packet you have,
Yes.
except for not the next one we're going to talk about.
So they're not in the one that everybody else has?
Correct.
They are in this latest printed version that I brought this evening, and they are in the worksheet on the screen.
And the audience.
The audience has the updated version.
Hard copy.
So we're all working on the same sheet. That's the most important.
Okay.
And the second department head that wanted you to consider his wage recommendations was the DPW director. You had increased the highway lines at last budget hearing, not to the department head request, and also had done nothing with transfer station. I did not incorporate those into the working budget as of yet because I wasn't sure whether the board wanted to negotiate with the department head or where you might go with that. But I have the numbers and the ancillary costs, so we can do that this evening.
So what we're looking at for a change is what we had put down under BOS last time for the highway, and then changing to the department head request for foreman and waste management operator, correct?
Yep. And essentially what you're looking at for the assistant highway agent, like to increase that by $4,300, the mechanic position by $4,300, and the truck driver position by $3,000.
So back to what the department head had, not what we suggested.
Right, what the department had asked. And similar recommendations for the transfer station.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Bellamy.
If the highway wouldn't go that way, the COLA could go away for those 3 people. So they're not getting that plus the COLA.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're putting in final numbers at this point. because the COLA's already added to everything else, so this will be the final
All right.
numbers. Right. Could you put the numbers into the BOS update as we just did it for
Yep.
fire, transfer, and highway, and we can see the actual numbers?
I've done it for fire, let me get down to you.
Beautiful. Does anyone have any comments, thoughts, things they want to share?
It's just transfer.
The highways.
The highway has to change too.
Highway's not done. That's
Okay.
the adjustment they made last week, but that's not
Yeah.
the adjustment that the department had requested.
Yeah,
That's not enough.
yeah, that's, I didn't understand that either.
No, these are,
He just said those are the numbers he wants.
Those are the numbers that the board of selectmen plugged in last week.
and those are the numbers they're saying is right. That's what
Those are not the numbers that the department had
You
requested.
just stated that those numbers were not acceptable, is that correct, Mr. Lewis?
I just think they should be a little bit higher, that's it. You don't have to go all if you went,
Closer.
So
especially since there was a snafu with it, and technically they should be getting it now, and they're not.
This is really just bringing them up to where they should be, and then you're looking to increase them from where they should have been, but the snafu made it not happen.
Correct.
So there was supposed to be a raise that didn't go through for reasons,
Like for last year?
miscommunication, yes.
Oh,
So we had 2 years ago numbers, they're now currently, is it been fixed since then? We're working on fixing it,
For which one?
to get them up to the numbers that we have for the budget.
I
We're working on it.
I guess you're working on it. The board has made no recommendation for a mid-year salary adjustment.
Okay. So it's the salary that we had agreed to last year, for some reason, didn't go forward with these particular individuals. I would like to recommend that we go forward and make sure that that gets taken care of for this year.
So like, I was trying to go like 5%, is what I was trying to go, so with a COLA at 2, I don't go 3. You know what I mean, it doesn't have to be 5 and a COLA.
So
You know what I mean?
take the fiscal year '24 numbers, which is what they should be getting now, and then you're saying add the,
Add 3, and then you're gonna give them a 2% COLA to give them the 5.
so are you doing that?
That's what I was trying to go for when I did it, but I didn't know you were doing a 2% COLA, so I just went 5% or close off of that.
Total from this year.
That's about what it was.
Fiscal year 24 budget, 5% on top of that.
but they're not actually making the fiscal year 24 budget numbers?
They should be as of,
That's not my question.
Yeah.
What are they actually making right now? They don't-
that was in last year,
There was
last,
just no request to,
Like
that was
2.
budgeted for. It just wasn't requested to go up to that.
Yeah, I can give you the actual.
It's like $2,000
For those
less.
people right now. Hold on.
So so last year we budgeted for these people to have a pay increase, but it wasn't officially requested from somebody, so it never happened.
You
So
just,
these numbers reflect what we had wanted them to make, but not what they're currently
It was
making.
never discussed.
you never discussed actually what you were gonna do for raises or whether you were going to do raises. Those were the line items that came in the budget, and the budget passed.
got it.
There was never any further discussion about,
I guess I'm a little confused. Isn't it like when we say the town administrator salary in this budget's gonna be 91,800, like that's what it is? We have to do an extra step?
there typically is an extra step.
That we do?
No.
No,
Okay.
the board of selectmen will recommend what they want, the department head will provide what we call PAR.
Okay, so that,
So what we need to do first is go forward and say we would like to, you would like to go forward and do that, okay, to this salary we already agreed to last year. Can we do that? Is it something we need to do officially, or is it something Steve needs to do officially?
Steve could make a request of the board to do that mid-year, and
then do
if the board grants it,
Great. So
then I
Steve,
need
you'll
to
take
get
care of
a
that.
PAR for each employee.
All right, so assuming that that happens in the next week,
Well, assuming that it gets voted on,
So
Right.
Steve, would you like to say
The words.
words so I can say yes? I don't know.
I think
I
it's
have no
I
idea.
request to do a mid-year salary increase for the 3 highway guys.
Correct. And that-
To what was originally what we had approved in the
Budgeted.
budget.
Yeah, it's a piece of paper that we just need to sign.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Okay. Well,
We're all in agreement, we're gonna go forward with
let's make
that.
that.
So now we're back up to now this year, so there's just a mistake.
Okay, so what percentage, Steve, had you?
So I was trying to get 5, so if we just did 3 and then your 2% COLA, then that gets me what I wanted, or if you do 2 and 2, it's better than nothing. This part's entirely up to you, or you can tell me to sit down.
No, we like you, we like you very much.
So if you take their 2 salaries, multiply them by 5%, that's your number.
Give or take, I think it's around,
Well-
but yes.
If you want 5.
Yeah, if you want 5.
That's what he's requesting, that's what his request is for. And then added to that all the ancillary expenses associated with that increase.
Correct. And then we can get to final numbers and see what needs to happen. Is there anything else in the budget we need to discuss while we're doing the math on those?
What was there something about the transfer station?
I would do Stelline in the transfer station for lamprey closure by $1,600.
Okay,
And I know Andy already had fixed that before the meeting, but that's because lamprey closure costs dropped by a lot.
okay, great. And then we're just increasing the, we never fixed the transportation salaries like we did all the other departments. So they're, well, most of the departments, so we're asking, he's asking for an increase for the 2 lines.
And the transfer station one looks odd because, or at least in the budget I presented, because it was underfunded by $5,000. So that increase looked way bigger at the start than it actually was.
Okay.
This number, you multiply by 5%.
The difference here
Yeah,
is
that's true. Okay, so-
not huge, and I've gone years without getting paid.
I agree, and we also have, if we were to try to replace these people, we would not be able to at a lower rate, so.
That's fair. Mr. Bugby?
What?
Opinions about the highway station wages or the transfer station wages?
They should get increases just like everybody else. The thing that's concerning me with the numbers that we got from Andy and the numbers we got from the school district, we're looking at a overall tax increase of 6.25%.
We had 4% and 4%, where'd you get 6.25?
You gotta figure out the total tax rate.
He's talking about overall, not just the.
Because when we figured the 4, it was for the school district and the schools asking
Yeah,
for
the
more.
school district is more.
Okay, I just want to figure where we're getting numbers from, so
Yeah.
I'm following the thread.
Did we have agreement on transfer station positions?
Let's put them in at that number so we can see what we're looking at. The, so foreman is 56,000.
Okay.
Waste management is 92,103. So
That was for 2 people too.
is there some other place we can cut? Because we can't, we already were struggling with where we were. What else can we cut? Can we take more off of something else?
Well, we saved
sorry.
$1,600 on the land paper. It always calls you.
Put the duck into
He's
the.
not good at knowing 6 o'clock on a Monday.
No, Mondays, I mean, it's only been 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years, yeah.
Okay.
I love being on the side of my son's phone. It's fine.
Like I said, it doesn't have to be, it can be 2 and 2, it doesn't have to be 3 and 2.
Well, it's very close, it's 215 a thousand.
think that we have to pay them what they're worth, because we are not able to replace them. And maybe we need to figure out in the next 3 months how else we can make more money.
Just, there was a brief survey of the municipal association online tonight. They had some numbers just to give you an idea of what other towns are looking at. It matters, but Atkinson is looking at a 9% budget increase, Haverhill 14.2, Wakefield 10.5, Guilford 14, Enfield 7.5, Raymond 12.8, Northwood 10.7. Bow actually had a decrease, and I emailed and asked them how they happened to have a decrease, and they ended up with about $1.5 million extra that they don't have to send to Eversource that they thought they were going to have to. So they are sitting flush, but other than that, I wasn't getting much good news.
I believe we should go with the department's request for the highway and the transfer station wages. It's not ones that we have edited at any point in the last year, so I think that that's only fair.
I agree, and I think it just needs to be stated that going forward, the plan is to do these raises at this time, so the town has the right to vote on them, and then we are not doing them throughout the rest of the year, so there aren't these slow burn changes. And that way we have a little more understanding of what we're looking at for numbers.
I don't think there's anywhere else to cut. So I think the other option is to investigate how to increase revenue.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of ideas that we're looking at in the next 12 months. And by we, I mean not you.
Yeah, not me. No, I'm looking at any ideas, no, I'm just kidding. I can look at ideas for a month. All right, so we're getting the final numbers up.
I put that all under retirement because I had factored Medicare and Social Security into that. I have to go out, I have to go back in and break it out by one.
So we won't be able to write this number in.
Yes, you definitely will. I
Okay.
had a total of
Do you need
7,476.
more time if we're ready to do that?
No.
Okay.
All right, so we need to decide if we're gonna spend time looking for more cuts or if we're gonna move forward on this.
I've expressed my opinion.
All right, so I move that we accept, sorry, what?
Okay, let's close this and get your bottom line.
All right,
Just switch.
you get me the number.
It's gonna take me just a second because this
Okay.
calculates a little more slowly as it travels to.
I will just share with anyone that doesn't know, one of the challenges of being a 3-person select board means we never get to have a conversation outside of right in front of you every single time, which means we don't get to do any of the stuff ahead of time. We can't plan it, we can't think about it, talk about it, so forgive us while we have to go through everything live in front of you.
This will speed up when it does, it gets to 60.
That's not how electric vehicles work, that's how it is. Slow down.
It works like a flash on my desk, but as soon as I log in remotely,
Yes.
it
Makes sense.
drags. Okay, so if I go to the bottom. It's giving me a bottom line of $5,598,662 with those changes.
Okay. All right.
And the 12% increase is, that's not the true increase, that's over. That's the budget committee's.
Over the, okay. Okay. All right, so I move that we go forward with the fiscal year 25 budget at $5,598,662.
Second.
Any discussion?
Could you take back the?
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. All opposed?
Post.
Opposed.
Yes, I did.
Did you get that,
Oh, okay.
Denise?
Actually,
2 in favor, 1 opposed. Do you want me to remember? You got that?
sure, you can put it in, your handwriting is probably better than mine.
I don't think that's true. So we had Mr. Riley was opposed, Rebecca and Christian were in favor. So moved. Okay, on to the finalizing of the warrants.
Actually, I'll put that with the signatures for you guys to sign.
Do you have the warrants in there? Should I peek at those? Are they in here? They're not in here. Are there any changes that we're dealing with the warrant?
The only change that was made was typographical. At Denise's behest, spelled out 80,000 in the radio. However, give me just a second. There.
Okay. But they're all the same that are in here that, when I pull up the, like we're meeting, they're.
Nothing has changed.
Comment, okay, come on up.
I have a question.
Yes,
John has his laptop open, so.
great.
So, John, if you will open up the highway part of
You're
the.
supposed to address the board and then we'll
Sorry.
address the
Close.
audience.
If you go into the financial planning tool, and the trailer that's in the financial planning tool is able to be bought for what happens later tonight, how much does it lower the deposit?
Not by that much,
Not by that much?
but he can tell you.
Mr. Tappan,
It's something that could get lowered.
thank you.
Appreciate that.
John Tappan, author of the FPT. The trailer that was in there was a 12,000-pound gross vehicle weight trailer scheduled to be purchased in fiscal year 2027. This year's cost was estimated to be $20,000, which would have been over $22,000 in 2027. The trailer that's proposed to be purchased, it's 67% higher gross vehicle weight, 70% lower cost. It is used instead of new. But it doesn't change the required appropriation by as much as you might think, because what's really driving the needed appropriation is some big items that are coming in 2038. So it reduced it from required 48,800 down to 47,564.
Okay,
And the 48,800 for purposes of the warrant had been just moved up to 50,000. So if you liked 48, you could change it to 48.
great.
The other thing that is not included, though, is the original trailer that was going to be a new trailer, and so there was no replacement purchased within the length of the FPT.
Correct.
Where this is a used trailer being purchased 3 years earlier than previously planned, I don't know whether there would be a need for a replacement within the next 20 years.
Maybe, but
No,
not
not at this time.
not at this time, no. It's just a suggestion, I didn't know what it was gonna do.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any other comments on warrant articles?
Number 6.
Okay,
I am a little bit nervous about the 1.7 to 1.9. And if the board would consider changing that from 100,000 to 200,000 from the unassigned fund balance, which will not affect current taxation, because it's money that's already been taxed.
this is to raise and appropriate $100,000 though, on number 6.
Yeah, but source of funds.
It's not from taxation.
Come on, guys, I made notes.
Sorry, I thought we were raising that and then up in the, I
That's-
apologize, I
I have to
misunderstood.
use that language, but source of funds is.
But it says here that withdrawing 300,000, so why is that not represented?
Because we're not actually doing it at this particular time.
Just help me understand. In Article 2,
Yep.
we were talking about the 1.4 million for the building and then withdrawing 300,000 from the town buildings capital reserve fund. You're asking that, you're saying Article 6 is also a withdrawal from the unassigned, from the unassigned fund balance. Got it, okay. Got it, so no 2. Okay, but then that limits the amount that we can decrease taxes on the other end, correct?
Possibly. Usually what we do is we use whatever the amount that gets dumped in on June 30th, usually that's the amount that we use. So it's actually from this particular current fiscal year.
The other concern I have is that this number in Article 2 isn't as high as it needs to be, so I'm concerned there.
Well, I don't think you can change the 1.7.
Right, you'd have to, well, we could change it at the
You
deliberative
can change
session.
it to deliberative session. You
By
can't,
how
I don't
much?
believe you can change the bonded amount. You could change the project amount and change the amount that you were going to withdraw at deliberative session.
Right. So what you're saying is we would take 2 instead of 1, and that would be part of this change here, and then we might still need to figure out another 1 somewhere
Yeah,
else.
in terms of logistics, we can't change the 1.4 because we've already closed that.
Correct?
But you possibly could change the 1.7 to 1.8 and take 400,000 out. And then in Article 6, change that 100,000 to take 200,000 on the signed fund.
Okay.
I'm just concerned
No, that
that
makes sense.
one of the things that she's not here, but she said she was going to be, but maybe she wasn't. Karen Rossi had a conversation with me on Friday,
Mhm.
which overheard. So I was thinking kind of the same thing,
Yeah.
but she was a little bit adamant in terms of it's better to have more than less.
Right.
Because nothing's worse than going back to the voters and say, hey, we didn't ask for enough money.
I agree.
And just for what it's worth, Karen and I are going to be meeting with Jay Sullivan, the engineer, on this project, probably this week to discuss the realities of what DOT would expect with regard to the annex building and Wednesday Hill. DOT's initial opinion was that nothing would have to be done to Wednesday Hill. Jay is not so sure that that's the case,
Yeah.
based on the tightness of space in that area. So we're going to suss this out and hopefully get something in writing as to what
That
will
would
be
be,
done.
that would be nice.
We'd like to get as close to the actual numbers for deliberative session as possible, because I think the town needs to know the numbers that they're dealing with.
I'm changing this to 200,000 unless I hear.
Is that agreement?
That's fine.
Great,
Yep.
we all agree with that.
Who's done?
Okay,
Change
is there
that.
anything else we need to work on while we're here?
And we'll just have to remember in Article 2 at the deliberative session to make those 2 changes.
Yes.
Or request the body to change those 2 changes.
No. Do you have something with the default budget written on it?
Yes.
Control Z, we'll probably get the deletion. Control Z,
It doesn't look like we changed anything from Article
keep
17.
on going.
Two.
There you go.
Two. I just want to put the operating budget in here.
Do you have this number? Okay, that's a difference though.
I think I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. All right, and are there any other articles you guys are looking at?
No.
Did it looks like the words are pretty close to the same for Article 17. Are we all set there? Do we need to have any other legal that we've talked to?
What I would suggest is putting any other discussion we want about the value of the real estate, the value of the lease, that sort of thing, in the voter's guide.
Okay,
I don't believe we can put much more in the actual warrant
Okay.
article. We can put it in the voter's guide.
great. I just want to make sure we're following all the rules we have to follow. Okay. Seeing no further
So are you
discussion.
changing number 2?
Oh,
To what?
can we change that now? You want to change it at the deliberative
I
session?
don't think you can change it now because you stated that it's 1.7. In your budget hearing, bond budget hearing. I don't think you can change it
You're
here.
right, yeah.
Do it in front of it.
You've actually continued, but you did,
No,
yeah,
not
you
the
closed the
bond.
bond hearing though,
Okay, you
so.
closed it, so
Right.
There's a couple, yeah, as well.
you'd have to do a deliberative session.
Chief of Company, want to come on up?
Changing the drawing to come up.
Hello.
Pat Barber, Wednesday Hill Road. I apologize if I missed this last week because I left before the discussion was over. The article about about the rental of the annex
Yes.
does not address repairs and maintenance to the building, which I know has been an issue between the town and the Heritage Commission.
Good point, thank you.
So I was just curious how that was going to be addressed.
Great question.
If I could, Katrina, I think if the warrant article passes to go ahead with the lease, then an actual lease would have to be drafted and specific language regarding maintenance, that type of thing could be included. I used just a sort of overview of a memo of understanding that the select board had approved earlier to create the warrant article, but obviously the actual lease would have to be more than just the warrant article.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, I think that's really important because with the library, when they need to do repairs, then that has to come out of a budget. This is a nonprofit, so they don't have a town budget. It's a nonprofit, so either we have to create a budget for that lease, or we have to ask them to make those payments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's gonna be those are very different numbers. All right. It seems like there's something we can do right now about that. You're saying that would be a lease decision later.
I think you would have to incorporate that into the details of your lease, yes.
All right. I move that we accept the warrant articles as presented with the fixes that we just added to Article 6.
I think that was the only change, wasn't it? Or was it?
And Article 3 we already accepted earlier.
Second.
Great. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No. Okay, so moved.
At this stage of the game, I'm going to shut the connection to the budget software off. If the board is agreeable.
I am agreeable to that. All right, so I'm going to close the public hearing on the budget. We are going to move on to sorry. Were you saying?
I don't know if you were going to ask, does anybody have any other comments or anything like that they'd like to say?
Oh, sure, I can do that. So just put a hold on that. Mr. Kozowski? Sorry, I looked and I didn't see any hands, I apologize.
Paul Grzowski, 46 Lamprey Lane. This is just a presentation issue for the deliberative session. At last week's meeting, Selectman Bugby referred to phase 1 of the town center project, and I wasn't sure what that meant. And I just will comment that in my mind, phase 1 actually is the library renovation for the sake of presentation. And phase 2 would be the municipal building, and phase 3 would be the renovation of town hall. I just would suggest that you follow that, because I'm not sure you are, but I think we've appropriated, expended, and spent a lot of time in renovating our library, and I think that needs to be front and center.
I appreciate that. It also makes me feel like we're moving forward, which is great. Thank you. Great suggestion. I would like to add that. Do you guys agree? Yes? Phase 2? Sounds nice. All right, thank you. Is there any other comments, thoughts, feelings? Does anyone want to share anything before we close this hearing? No? All right. I am now going to officially close the budget public hearing for fiscal year 25 and our awards. Now we're going to move on to Dr. James Morris, Superintendent of Schools for the Oyster Proctor School District update.
Do you need the projector, Dr. Morse?
I do not. I'm not a projector guy if I can avoid them.
Neither am I, unfortunately.
When you get out into the community, there's so many different connections and so forth that I just rely on analog paper. Do you all have a copy?
I have a copy online. Do you want to hand those to the
We have a
folks
bit-
that might not have one? Oh, does anybody want a
Everyone have a
computer?
copy?
Okay. We have extra for if anyone needs a computer.
There you go. Thank you very much.
That's yours. Are you giving away Denise's copy? Give that back to her.
All right, so while I have this audience, I do want to thank the Public Works Department for the good job they do in terms of keeping the roads clear for our buses. And there's quite a difference as the buses cross through the 3 towns. And Lee does a particularly good job, so thank you. I also want to thank the Chief of Police for the cooperation and support that he gives the school system. So just continues, you know, this is my 12th year as superintendent, and the 3 towns have been so supportive of the school system in different ways. And we hope that you felt our support for you as well, you know, in terms of elections and space. One of the things that the school board is working on now is a rental agreement, updating our rental agreement for property. And Scott and I, many years ago, had a conversation about the town and the school system not charging each other when we use space. And we are immortalizing that into the district's rental agreement so that it's clear for my successor that the relationship between the school system and the 3 towns remain positive and interactive. So I would just wanted to share that because the thought came across my mind that as I was sitting here looking at Scott, that he'd appreciate the fact that we actually have put it in writing.
Buggy clause or anything?
We can certainly do that. We'll name it after you, Scott. So in terms of, you know, listening to you this evening, the struggles that you're going through are the same struggles that the school system also is going through in trying to reconcile a post-COVID budget. I call it the COVID bump. Inflation went through the roof immediately after COVID, and it's had an impact on costs in terms of construction, and I'm sure Public Works and other departments, you've seen those costs escalate astronomically. But before I get into the budget, let me just talk a little bit about who's here tonight. So we have Brian Cisneros, who represents the town of Lee. Matt, who is at large, so he's here to critique me in my last presentation. Amy is the new business manager, so you'll see her in future years at your presentations, and probably we'll see her at the microphone. So the school board has selected my successor, and we're doing transition work together over the next 6 months. And I anticipate that you all will be as highly appreciative of his skills as you have been of mine. So getting into the district, I would want to start out by saying, you know, how's the district doing in relation to other districts, the state, and so forth. And, you know, the one measure that we have that is universal, that carries across school systems, carries across the state, and carries across multiple states is our SAT scores. And so our 11th graders have an aggregate score this past year of 1,119. 95% of our students participate, so that's one of the highest in the state. Our math scores, 61% of the kids exceeded the math benchmark. And, you know, just going through, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but the audience is here and they may not have a copy. Our college placement rate is one of the highest in the state at 83%. 65% of our kids go on to a 4-year program. And one of the things I'm most proud of now is that 14% of our kids are choosing a 2-year program. So, you know, the history of trades has been in our district kind of poo-pooed upon because everybody wants their children to go to Harvard, Yale, and Brown. We have been working hard for a decade to convince children that 2-year option can be very, very valid and can produce a really good income. And so we're seeing the impact of that, where children are choosing a 2-year placement. We have about 2% of our kids who take a year off and then go back to school. And unusual for us, 19% of our kids chose military or work last year, which our military number is usually around 3 or 4%. So something about last year attracted our students to the military. And the high school graduation rate is 99%. So the only number you can get better than that is 100, and we've had that before. The bar charts that are in your presentation are really to give you the history of pre-COVID and post-COVID. So these are K through 8 scores, and what you're seeing on the far left is the pre-COVID year. Then you see the years that were most impacted by COVID, and you're seeing the impact of COVID during that time period. In fact, we only measured the kids twice in the COVID years, just because it was very difficult to do them remotely. But then look at the far right, and you look at the most recent data and the year before, and you're seeing really a more than complete recovery academically of our students in terms of math and reading, K through 4 and 5 through 8. Some of the highest, in fact, some of the highest STAR score assessments in our history, in the last year in particular. We talked a little bit about the SAT as I opened up. The high school had a reading and writing score of 559. The state of New Hampshire was 506, and nationally it was only 488. We looked at a math score. We're 100 points almost above the national score, 560 for Oyster River, 488 for New Hampshire, and 467 for the nation. So I share that data just because it's a reference point for the quality of work the teachers and the staff are doing on behalf of our students, and something to be very proud of. Of course, the question we always get asked is what's happening with enrollment. And our enrollment as of October 1st was 2,111 students. Massway had 331 students, and October 1st is the number that is the official number for calculating. The state has to take a point in time so they can compare statewide what the enrollment is. So 331 at Massway, 298 at Moheramet. The middle school was at 621 and the high school is 841. We had 185 tuition students, most of them, 182 of them, from Barrington. Barrington tuition students generate about $3.5 million worth of income now. If that money didn't exist, the high school programming would be absolutely impacted negatively, and taxes for the three towns would go up. So the fact that Barrington is paying tuition is a good thing for the three member towns. When we look at our projected enrollment, we're looking at approximately 215 students next year. And then you see the numbers kind of settle around 2,000, just shy of 2,000. Thing I would share with you, and for those of you who've paid attention to our enrollment over the years, when I first came in as superintendent, the projected enrollment was around 1,700. It's never been below 2,000 since I've been here. So you have to look at projected enrollment with a bit of grain of salt kind of perspective. This is what's based on live births, traditional move-ins, and so forth. And so, I think we can safely say we'll be around 2,000, but it wouldn't surprise me if we looked at these 2 years from now and they were over 2,100 again. So just read them for what they're worth. In terms of the towns, you can see from 2015 to 2023, which happened in Durham, is a slight decline. In Lee, we started out at 655 students. We're at 698 now. So what you're seeing in Lee is this kind of creep up and then kind of a little bit of a creep down, but still higher than where we began in 2015. Madbury, being the smallest of the three member towns, started out at 367 and 315. Why is that important to Lee? Because the local funding formula for the school system is based on property value and student enrollment. So if your numbers are going up and the other two towns are going down and your valuation is stable or only going up slightly, there'll be a slight shift in the responsibility for the town of Lee. In 2015, we had 98 Barrington tuition students. Today we have 182, so over double the number of tuition students from that period. And as I said, other towns ask, or actually I should say families ask sometimes to tuition their children into the district. What's the attraction? I think what I've shared with you already is the attraction. Some families can afford to tuition in children. They do. The Strings program is an example. A Nottingham child, the family's paying the full freight tuition so that their child can participate in our Strings program. So just to give you a sense of that. And that was a middle school child, not a high school child. When the board is giving me budget goals, they give me a range. And, knowing that the circumstances are what they are in terms of budget drivers, their range was from 3.6% to 4.32%. The first draft of the budget that came into me was 6.19%, which was obviously too high. And like Andy, I called around to my peer systems, neighboring systems, and so the budget that we're bringing in is 4.17%. Neighboring school systems facing the same issues we're facing are coming in at 7, 8, and 9%. So it's unusual for somebody to come in lower than we are in this particular scenario. Very usual for somebody to come in higher. So what's driving it? The big driver this year is health insurance. We saw a 15.1% increase in health insurance. That's pretty doggone close to $1 million, give or take a few dollars either way. $1 million is a huge hurdle for us to get through as a school system. We're in our 5th year of a teacher's agreement. That cost is $709,000, $317, excuse me. We're in the 3rd year of our RESPA agreement at $77,505. The 3rd year of our ORPAS agreement at $136,126. Our administrator agreement is at $95,905. And good news in terms of this list, for the last 5 years, 4 years, going into the 5th year, we've been building in the bond payment for the new middle school. So this is the last year you'll see an increase articulated into the next budget, because once this is done, the bond payment will be incorporated into our operating budget. So there'll be no new dollars going into our budget to pay the bond for the new middle school. I'm sure that you saw increases in your utility cost. We did as well at $210,000. And then 2 positions that the board felt was imperative. We talked a little bit earlier about how good our kids are doing academically, but a lot of our kids are struggling mentally. Mental health is a major issue. I've talked to the selectmen about this in the past. The board is moving forward with including a mental health counselor, licensed mental health counselor, into the school system, because the services out in the region are just not capable of handling the amount of traffic that students, young people need. So we're building it into our own budget. And then the strings position, which I talked just slightly about before, she has 260 kids taking strings. 10 years ago, this program didn't exist. So it's all on the back of one teacher. 260 kids is too many kids for one person to be educating. So the board is supporting the additional strings position. So like you, and I heard a little bit of this when Katrin was talking, you're either looking at budget cuts or you're looking at new revenue. Well, it's not an either or, of course, you're doing both. And fortunately for the school system, over the 12 years that I've worked together with the school board, we've put money aside with voter approval through various trusts to deal with unanticipated costs or exceedingly high costs. So one of the areas of revenue that we were able to identify is additional tuition money at $68,000. And then, again, I'm sure you faced this over the last 5 years, the interest you were earning on your money in the bank was close to zero, and so you could really probably not articulate much in the interest line. But with interest rates at 4 and 5% now, we're anticipating having a revenue line of $25,000. The school nutrition program is not borne by the taxpayers of the 3 towns. It's a self-sufficient program, but we have to articulate an increase. The cost of food in particular has been enormous, and we've seen that in our own homes. So we see a $301,471 increase revenue. If you saw the school budget for the nutrition program, it would also say $301,471 increased cost. So it's a zero-sum game. So it's a little bit tricky when you look at that line. Health insurance trust fund, so the board set aside money specifically for a year like this where our insurance went up 15.1%. So the board has decided to use $250,000 from that trust fund. Special education trust fund, we've had a trust fund for special education now for all the time I've been superintendent, and we've never spent a penny of it. I recommended to the board that we use $250,000 of that fund as well, and they agreed. The expendable trust fund is, we're recommending, I'm trying to read this sideways now, $125,000 from, and our retained fund balance. All of that coming together is $1,334,732. Again, take out the $301,000 because it really isn't money that is new that's going to impact the tax rate, but the other funds do impact the tax rate. So to give you a sense of where we've been, the current budget, we only had a 1.54% increase. The reason that was so low was because we lost revenue from the state. And had we done anything different, it would have crippled the three towns tax-wise. So in the current budget, we're at 1.54%. The proposed budget, as I said earlier, is a 4.17% increase. You can see the history of my superintendency in terms of where we've been over the course of a dozen years, and you can see the lows and the highs. This happens to be a high year, but we've had many low years over the 12 years as well. The proposed budget, the general fund, is set at $54,415,352. The next three funds, again, don't impact taxes, but they impact the bottom line of the budget. So food service will come in at $1,191,685. Federal funds, approximately $600,000, and then other special revenues at $41,000. So the total proposed budget for the district is $56,248,037. So what's the estimated impact? And I know that God is really good at pulling out the napkin, but this is my napkin version of it. The reason I say it's a napkin version is we wouldn't really know what the impact is until the end of September, early October, when you all have submitted your data to the state. But from a 10-month prior view, I expect that this budget would have an impact on the town of Durham about 40 cents per thousand, about 82 cents per thousand for Lee, and 97 cents per thousand for Madbury. Again, just kind of giving you a history, we tend to be very conservative in our estimates, and you can compare our estimates to the actuals over the years. One of the things I point out when you look at Durham, for example, in ―23, we had estimated a impact of $19.36, and the actual impact is $13.35, and they go, how the heck could you be that far off? Revaluation. And anytime a town revalues, it throws our ability to project what the actual mill effort would be way off. And you can see at Lee where it happened in your community. You can see in Madbury where it happened in their community. It's just a matter of revaluation throws all of those mill efforts off, but as all of us know, it doesn't necessarily mean less taxes. The default budget, if the budget fails, our budget would be $318,732 less. What that really means is the strings position would be out, the mental health position would be out, because those are new positions. Any person who's not covered by a union agreement would not get their pay increases, that kind of thing. So that's how that number comes through. The warrant articles for us, we have a couple of new ones. Article 3 is what we've always shown the community, which is that total operating budget, including food service and grants and so forth. Article 4 is a new one for us. Part of the reason our students have done so well post-COVID is because we created a new semi-professional position called tutors. So we have paraeducators who can only work under the umbrella of a teacher. Tutors can work independently of teachers, but far less costly than hiring a teacher. They are working in small groups and really helping kids who are struggling with math or reading. So that contract is brand new to the district. The first year is a little bit more costly than the year 2 and 3. It's $139,846.63. That's because for the first time this group would qualify for health insurance. So that's one of the big drivers there. And we also decided to pay them in a semi-professional manner. Their salaries are still less than teachers, but substantial for the work they're doing. The second year of the contract is only $35,219, and the third year of the contract is even less at $18,695. That's because all of those costs are now built in the first year. Article 5 is an article that the district has seen before, and it's putting $125,000 aside from our end-of-the-year fund balance, not through new taxation, to buy the solar array that's at the middle school. And so in 3 years, Matt and Brian and Amy will move forward with taking that money out and buying out the investors who paid for the solar array at the new middle school. At that point, all of the revenue generated by the solar array kicks back to the district, and our estimate, conservative estimate, when we were building the middle school was that's about $2 million worth of savings to the taxpayers over a 20-year period. When we get to Article 7, we are in a new warrant. Article 6 is doing the same thing for the solar array, but for the turf fields. So we have a 7-year-old turf field at the high school and a brand new one at the middle school. And like the solar array, we can anticipate that there's going to be a replacement cost someplace down the line. And the board is being wise and saying from the unexpended fund balance, let's put money aside for that very expensive replacement of the carpet. Then we get into Article 7, and again, the board is thinking about how it pays for things. So Article 7 is creating a non-lapsing athletic field revolving fund that allows us to keep the money that we get from rentals to be put aside, again, to pay for costs that the board knows it's going to have in the future. So for example, had we had this 3 years ago, there would be about $100,000 sitting in this account. So the board is thinking, how do we positively move forward and not ask the taxpayers for as much money as we possibly need if we have these funds set aside to draw from. So I would say that, one of the things about this budget that's perhaps different than the past with those last 2 articles is the board is getting more keen on looking at future costs and saying, how do we pay for those without turning to the 3 towns and saying, can we have more tax money? And I think that's a credit to the decision-making of the board, and I think, in the future, that'll be something that the 3 towns will appreciate. So where are we in the process? You are the last town that I'm meeting with in relation to the budget. The big meeting that's coming up next is February 6th. It's our deliberative session. It'll be at the music hall at the middle school at 7 o'clock. If it's snowing that day, we'll do it the following day. We'll do it on the 8th. March 12th, of course, is our annual voting. In Durham, it would be at the high school from 7 to 7. In Lee, it would be our safety complex from 7 to 7. And for Madbury, it would be the town hall from 11 to 7. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions the select board have or what the community has.
Any questions from the public?
Michelle Fry. What is causing the 15% increase in the insurance? Is it just everywhere, or no change in
We have the same
what was covered?
Yeah, no, yes, I just want to make sure I answer in the microphone.
Yep, sorry.
So the 15.1% increase is based on usage. No new bells and whistles to the insurance. It's just a matter of, again, coming out of COVID, so many people delayed health issues that now they're using their health insurance to get those things done. So that's what drives up the cost.
Okay.
We have the same increase basically in the town as well.
Do we?
We had a 14.8%, I believe, projection.
Yeah, similar.
I had others that you already answered, but I'm just wondering, how much, what percentage of the total budget does the state cover?
Oh. Unfortunately for Oyster River, the state is about 10% of our budget. Yeah, the majority of our budget, 80%, is paid for by the towns of Lee, Medbury, and Durham.
And the rest is special revenue funds, or?
The federal government and grant.
I think that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any questions?
No more questions from the audience? I had a question. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe, I don't know, you came to us, and I know during COVID, students had problems, teachers had problems. Some teachers said, enough's enough, I'm done. How is that looking these days? Are teachers now thinking about, coming back? Are they staying? What's the general feeling in terms of the teacher population?
Well, it'll change district to district in New Hampshire and across the country, but in Oyster River, I describe Oyster River as a destination school system. So we actually put out a retirement incentive. It's one of the ways that we kind of control our costs, and approximately 12 professionals took us up on that offer, and that cuts our personnel costs because we're able to hire people at a lower rate than those who are eligible to retire. If we don't offer a retirement system, we lose about 3 or 4 people. If we offer a retirement system, it's been 12 to 16 people. So given our health insurance increase, this was a year that the board decided to offer an incentive. So we're pretty stable, Scott. We have a range of relatively new educators to veteran educators who we hire. The reason that we would hire somebody with a lot of experience might be it's a singleton position, like if it's a physics position, they're harder to fill than if it's a first grade position, that kind of thing. So when we estimate savings, we try to calculate whether that position is going to be hard to fill or not hard to fill, and then we calculate that out the best we can. We make that estimate for the school board.
So that's the dollars and cents. How about the mental health side of it? Because you're putting in a mental health counselor for the students. How about your professionals? And I don't need to know details, but, there was a time when people said, enough's enough, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Are you seeing that still, or is the morale of the teachers kind of come back again, or?
Well, we have an employee assistance program for grown-ups, so they're all eligible to participate in that. I would say that a small percentage of people are still struggling from the COVID years. It was very stressful depending on your life circumstances.
Yep.
And whether you lost a loved one or didn't, the impact on your immediate family. It was really a very difficult time if you were a young parent, as an example, trying to balance your job responsibilities with your family responsibilities, especially during that time period that we were remote. I think, and I don't know that Andy might agree with this, given his experience, but I think we'll be paying the price of COVID for many years. I think there's a COVID piece that will continue into the immediate future based on the mental health piece. I think a lot of people were impacted in ways that we really can't articulate.
Thank you for that analysis.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If there's no other questions, I would like us to thank Dr. Morse for his 12 years. This is his last presentation. I don't know if you know, but he's retired. So thank you very much for all your service, all the stuff that you've done for the district.
You're more than
And have a
welcome.
good retirement.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, on to a presentation from Steve Bullock about the 18-foot Hudson trailer.
Yes.
So there's a trailer at JSJ Auctions down in Epping,
Thanks, sir.
from a liquidation auction. We went and looked at it Friday. Me, Pete, and Warren went down and looked at it Friday. It's been sandblasted and it's been repainted, so it's in pretty good shape actually for the age of it. Obviously, we have it in the CIP to buy. Currently, we're driving the excavator around in a roll-off truck in the back of the, or in a dumpster in the back of the roll-off truck to get it around, so this will make it so we can actually, tow it and not load it up and haul it. So, looking at it, from what we can tell, a brand new one for a 2022 that's never been sold costs $16,250, but that's in Georgia, so. And then a used one, 1 year newer, was $8,500. So with the condition of it, and it needs a new deck put on it, so that's just buying wood from one of the mills in town. The most we'd want to spend is $5,000, but then you have to add the premium onto it, so it'd bring it to like $58.50, somewhere around there, which is why we asked for $6,000.
Seems like a wise decision, especially considering how much it would cost to build it. Any discussion? All right, so I move to grant the Public Works Director, any discussion on this? No, okay. Move to grant the Public Works Director permission to purchase the 1998 8-foot Hudson trailer from JSJ Auctions in Epping, New Hampshire, in the amount not to exceed $6,000, funds to come from the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund.
You said 8, but it's 18 foot.
I'm sorry, 18 foot. I apologize if I said that wrong.
Only in the video, I'm not sure, but.
That's fine. It's an
Second.
18-foot Hudson. Thank you.
No more discussion.
No,
Okay.
Discussion, no? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Regular business, town administrator.
I have very little regular business between the budget and building discussions. If I did have regular business, I can't recall it at the moment. I do have, and it's later on in the thing, I do have a simple cost-benefit analysis, renting versus building. I did not get the answers to 2 questions I was looking for regarding the building and development, but as I did mention, Karen and I are going to meet our town engineer regarding the site plan and considerations with the road, and that will likely be this week. I've also talked with approved bond counsel, Renelle Leoulier from Divine Millimet, who is reviewing what we've done and giving me some guidance on how to move forward with regard to the bond process. So,
Great.
and that was the municipal bond bank has a list of approved counsel that they would like you to use, and strongly recommend that you don't take a stab at figuring that out yourself without legal help. So.
Keep that. Excellent. Anything else?
I can show you the cost
Do you want
benefit
to do it now?
analysis now if
Sure.
you'd like, or.
Was it finished? Is it in a place that, like, if someone had a question, like, how close is it being finished? You said there were some questions you didn't get answered.
Oh,
Do you want to show it to us next week?
that was regarding septic costs and also ability and procedure if you wanted to increase the amount of the overall project.
So you have something you
Best
can
way
show
to
us
do
today,
that, yeah.
besides that. Okay, great, let's do it.
I can certainly show you the cost-benefit analysis. And this is very simple, but I think it does what it needs to do. So the camera won't take too long to warm up.
As long as the camera knows what it's supposed to do.
You want to accept the consent agenda?
Oh, yeah. Is that okay? Why don't we go ahead and do that?
Yep.
I move that we accept the consent agenda items as presented.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
So moved. So we'll go ahead and do that while we're warming up. Oh, look at that.
You have two additional items, one being the operating budget that you just passed, and the other being the memorandum of agreement regarding the Lamprey River Wild and Scenic Subcommittee and the plaque to go at the canoe launch on the Lamprey River that Scott had discussed with the group previously.
Great.
Maintenance signatures.
All right. Do you want us to sign and then we'll?
Sure.
Can I pass some of this down? Mr. Bugby? Sure. Okay. There's that. And this needs a signature. Here. Mr. Buckby has already signed it. Look at that.
That's what it's brought before me.
Got it, nice job. Oh my gosh, I forgot to make it for you. I'll go do that for you, I'll get that to you.
Oh.
There's no way to edit that online, I had to try to figure that out.
I can convert it to
It's up to you, I can hand it to you, handwritten, or hand it to him, however you want to get it.
Why are signature lines below our names? Not like it.
Where am I? Oh.
Threw me off right there. Like, what's going on here?
Awesome, then it's all set.
I think so.
There's the last paperwork, Scott wants a copy of that. Email to him too.
Beautiful. Okay, so I guess we're doing this in order now, so that's now old business.
So with regard to simple lease versus build town office cost benefit analysis, I didn't put too much detail into this, kept it fairly bare bones, but I think it's fairly easy to see the comparison. The one thing I did put at the bottom that doesn't show very well here, if our lease stayed the same at the end of year 9 and we leased for 20 years, we would have paid almost $1.3 million in lease payments and would have absolutely no equity as compared to the 1.9 for the bond, building equity each year after the first year in the building. The maintenance expense, the 1154 is a constant because right now we have a spring and fall maintenance agreement that is $600 a visit for the HVAC primarily at the building. The first year, we spent some money fixing the heat. The second year, we spent a little more. This building is old enough, and the way the lease contract is written, the town is responsible for any and all maintenance to that building, so it's conceivable that you could get into a roof or some more significant repairs. There is going to be, I know, a little more expense this year. I haven't seen a bill yet, but we have to do some plumbing and expansion tank, some other things coming. But this gives people a feel for what the cost of leasing with no particular gain is versus the cost of the bond that's been proposed.
And in year 22, we now have 0 payments, where in the lease we continue to have a payment at an increasing number.
Yeah, and I think that this is a real unknown too. I know there's been some dispute over what can happen with the property we're presently in. I don't know that there's any particular guarantee that that will be available after year 9.
Year 1 is what year?
That would be 2021,
20, because of the
the
bond.
year you moved into the building.
Okay.
Yeah, but then you've got to move some of these other things.
Can
too.
you,
Yeah, they have to move.
I assume we're gonna present this at the deliberative session, can you put the actual year
Yes,
next to the,
We're in year 3 of lease payment.
yeah,
Correct.
because we have no commitment after year 9, none whatsoever. They can say, hey, no, we're gonna use it for something else.
we are actually just at the start of year 4 right now.
Yeah, so let's adjust that, and then can we just, I don't know, based on what this interest is, just say that you have no idea what the increase will be, but probably
I
higher.
can show it,
property
I can
values.
show it above, so I can still show the total cost to people for
Perfect.
the building.
Okay.
I'll throw a few extra rows in there.
So at the end, we'll be paying more for a lease than we will for the bond in the last few years,
Well,
for sure.
yeah, your total expenditure on the bond would be 1916, but yeah, the 10 through 21 are really unknowns, and
Mhm.
whether you could continue to stay in the building, what the rent would be.
Just scroll up, you said year 1 was 2021.
Right.
That doesn't match up with the bond payment
You
for.
have to adjust it, so it's in year 4 matching with.
Right, I'm gonna put some
Okay.
extra row, I would still like to show the total payment of the building, so I'll put
That's
3
fine.
extra rows in here and bump that up
Yeah, have zeros up there.
and correlate them.
So I think the biggest difference is that we don't know, and everyone else's, like, this agreement was made when everyone's housing values and everything were at pre-pandemic levels, or during the pandemic, I guess. And then we don't know what it'll become. And we will have no payments, like I said, at the end of, in the 2022 year. Just important to know. All right, do you guys want to keep looking or have any questions?
And I think this number would probably be considerably higher. I can't imagine anybody, 6 years or 7 years from now, offering us a equal or lower lease payment.
No.
Is the jump between the years a percentage? What is that increase of 2,700?
It's an escalator.
It's just a dollar amount that is
Just a
specified in our
random dollar
contract.
amount?
No, it's a percent,
That's
right?
that's my
I'm sure
question.
it was calculated.
It probably was calculated on a percent,
Well,
the
then I
actual.
would use that same percent and extrapolate out.
And that would be a low number considering, but at least be
Yeah.
something.
I can calculate it, the actual contract just says your rent will now increase to this much a
Right,
month,
right.
36
And we'd
months.
have to put expenses on the bond, like even though it's a new building, we still have to maintain it, even if we owned it, so that'd be important too. Mr. Tappan?
Include the $300,000 or $400,000 that you're gonna take from the library building capital reserve fund? I mean, the town buildings capital reserve fund? So your first year, you're not paying $35,000. You're paying $335 or
Yeah,
$435.
I pulled the columns off the bond
Good
estimate
idea.
from the bond bank, but I can certainly put the 300,000
Thank you,
there
that's a
too.
good point. Make those numbers make
400
sense.
or,
Might also increase the
500.
equity dramatically.
It does increase
It's-
equity.
I think it would be important to note too that that's not gonna have a tax increase of spending that 300,000 because it's capital reserve money that you're moving.
Correct.
So that was part of the reason I didn't put it in initially.
Yeah, the more we can spend, the better. Mr. Guzowski?
In the current town offices, the insurance on the building, that building, is that built into the lease
Sorry,
figure?
Mr. Bugby
Or is
would
that
like
a
to-
separate figure?
I apologize, Mr. Bugby, I'd like for you to come up here so you can, the question go, I apologize.
That's also the thing, the people that are listening can't really hear.
That's totally fair, I could repeat it, but we can have him up here.
Following Mr. Tappan.
I apologize, I should have had you both come up.
Okay, Paul Guzowski, Lamprey Lane. Insurance on the I'll call it the Daily building. Is that built into the lease figure, or is that a separate item?
And nothing is built into the lease figure for the daily building. It is a separate item. We pay a fairly substantial fee. Our property and liability package, which I didn't break out the building cost, but we pay about $70,000 a year for property and liability insurance. A good chunk of that is vehicles, but it's also the buildings, and that includes.
Might be beneficial for the voters to see that cost built into this chart. Because, I mean, that's a cost, we're paying that cost for something that we
Yeah.
don't even own.
We are, and we're probably actually paying at a premium because we cover the building for fire coverage, and insurance companies give you a lousier rate if you are a tenant paying for the fire insurance than they do if you are the owner paying for the fire insurance.
That's a figure that's worth noting.
Yeah, if we could get an estimate from the insurance company, at least have the number there, that'd be great. Could you come on up to the microphone?
John Tappan, 187 Stepping Stones Road. I want to correct a misstatement that I've heard multiple times, and that is that money coming out of a reserve fund is like free money, doesn't affect your taxes. It was tax money that went into it, and it only takes a simple majority vote to take that money back out. If you spend it on something, you need to replenish it. If you have expenses going forward, it's not free money. If you had money in your savings account, you wouldn't think, hey, it's free money, I can just spend it on anything I want, it doesn't cost me anything. It's not.
I don't believe the term I use is free money, but it's.
Different way of doing it. All right, any other comments? Yes.
Deb Sugarman, 135 Second Town Road. So I've been coming to these meetings and I've been totally impressed with the whole bond issue. My question is, how are you going to market this to the town?
That's a great question. So one of the things that I just spoke to them about last week myself, and I know others have spoken to them as well, is the concern that we only have a very limited amount of time. I have been assured that by the deliberative session, we'll have pictures, photos, things like that, and then we will have meetings. It's a very tight window.
But people don't come to the deliberative session.
Right, so then those things can go online, they can go on our
Okay.
Facebook page, they can go on wherever we want to have them. We can have them at maybe the library or wherever else we want to have an option. I mean, if they're amenable, we can have them in public spaces. Unfortunately, it's something we have to pull together very quickly.
Yeah, it just worries me
It worries me too.
because it's a big number.
More people might be interested in attending the deliberative session when they see that number.
Yes, that's possible.
Maybe.
Yes. We will be having childcare, so if that's something.
Was that,
I do not have
No.
any set
Okay.
childcare.
We might be
personally.
having
We are working
childcare.
on it. No, we'll have something.
Fabulous.
Will we have refreshments? Is somebody stepping up to sell stuff or?
I have not delved into refreshments.
Okay.
Can we put out a call to nonprofits in the town and let them know that someone could sell refreshments? Or committees or something? Okay. Did you want to come up?
Yeah.
Great.
the Boy Scouts are working very hard to go someplace. They may be
Yeah.
uniquely.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Hello.
Chris Regan, did you mention a projected tax rate that you're expecting from this budget?
It is my estimation.
Yeah.
I take what the budget is and I take what the state education tax is, the school tax, the county tax, and what we're looking to appropriate. And based on the valuations that we anticipate increasing, it's about 6.35% before the additions that were just made tonight. So that's significant. So
Okay. That would be the rate.
that would be the whole rate.
Right, including education.
Education, yeah, so just be aware, this is my calculation. So the tax rate was 6.25% before the things we added tonight and changed. Town rate would go up 9.97%, school would go up 5.75%, state school tax would go up 1.87%. So, and the county rate would go up a little bit more than 3%. That's the best number I have from the county. County still hasn't done anything, as far as I know.
Right, they have not.
So that's just estimate.
There is the option of using some unassigned fund balance to adjust that as well, so we don't know the exact.
Right.
So if
have
you
an
use
estimate, though.
$100,000 from the unassigned fund balance, it would drop your tax rate about 13.5 cents.
Say that again?
For every 100,000 you put against the tax rate from the unassigned fund balance would be about 13.5 cents reduction.
Okay,
And this 6.25% is about $1.38.
okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any fun, happy, good news?
These are some,
Thank you. Great.
these are my fun.
Just what I was looking for. Okay. Any other topics, any other old business need to cover, new business?
Mr. Bullock would like to talk to you in
Correct.
non-public session.
And that is gonna be A, okay, great.
Oh, it's a question.
It was a question, yep,
Still an
beautiful. Okay, so I move to enter into non-public session, NHRSA 91-A:3, 2A, roll call vote. Oh,
Second.
Thank you, any discussion? No, roll call vote, Mr. Bugney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Casper? Yes. Thank you.
We're waiting for you. I'm trying to get him to bring down the wall.
How much was my birthday? I think it was 286 or something. Yeah, it was nice. Yes, it was. Although I don't want more here. Well, no. Chris Raven's on for select board. Don't you think? Chris should run for select board?
Me, no.
Sounds like you should.
I think if my, I don't know if I even would then, but if my kids lived around here, I mean, we travel a lot. I wouldn't worry about that. One's in Maryland, the other's in But, yeah, I know it. I don't think I want to do it anyway, but many years ago, maybe.
Just a few comments.
I'll be up tomorrow.
I'll start with that stuff.
You don't need me at any point tomorrow night, do you?
Tomorrow night?
Well, for your program, you don't need me there.
No, I don't need you there, but if we go until 7:30, you'll have to show me how to log up and stuff.
I could, so what I plan to do is have the girls lock you in, so the door's locked, all you have to do is close it and turn
That'll
off
be
the lights.
perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be perfect.
Good night, Denise.
I will get that one. No, I left you in there alone, remember?
Yeah, but you were taking some papers out, and one of them was halfway through. And I think somewhere in that collection, a roofing or something, something to do with the roof came through. You may have an extra piece of paper, I'll see if I can get look at it, and I can send me another copy of it. Because the stuff never made it to Concord, so I gotta send everything to Concord.
Nothing made it? Nothing.
It's nothing.
You know, what's her name? Linda was trying to use the fax today, and she said it wasn't working. It would only take one page or something.
Yeah, I'll let Karen do it.
All right.
But I meant because we were trying to do 2 or 3 things here. Like you said,
Yeah, I know. I only had one, there was was there a dog thing?
Was it dogs or roof?
There was a roofing thing, and then there was, I think, the start of a vet thing. And that's all, but I can check.
Yeah.
Let me check tomorrow and see in the recycling bin if they take it away.
We gotta get a hold of him.
But I had I never went back in there again,
Right,
and I left all the paper
Right, and I
on
picked it
the,
up.
oh,
Well, I picked up what was in the fax machine, maybe there
Okay.
was another sheet on something that I didn't see.
well, the stuff that was coming out that was all weird, I just put right next to it like this, and then I didn't take it with me.
Okay, I thought you did, so
No.
maybe it's sitting in that pile, I didn't see that.
Well, I didn't see it there today, I was in there today, but someone might have picked it up and put it in the recycling bin or something. But I can look at it,
See what you can
see
do.
if it's in.
Shoot me another page for that. Yeah, good job. Okay, have fun.
Okay.
We'll see if World War III starts.
too. Why do you argue every time I try to get my guys a raise?
I don't argue.
You argue everything I try to
I
do.
was
You're just
to confirm,
like
because
Jew.
we're still. I just know that I want to be clear. That's what's happening. This is.
Biggest problem is I didn't know they were supposed to do this. Like I didn't know. No, I didn't.
The original ones? The fiscal
No.
year 24 ones? The fiscal year 24 ones you put in?
No,
How do they get there?
I don't know. That's been my problem the entire time. I never put them in. They took all of them out last year and then just gave everyone that 6%, remember?
So they got
So
left
you
in?
guys gave me a PAR
Yeah.
with the 6%.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Andy did this.
That was never, that extra 2 was never talked about anywhere.
I know it wasn't.
Because if it was, why wouldn't I get it to Chip? Whose budget was fine. And in that case, why was Larry and Joe's underfunded by 2? You know what I mean? Like, my whole, everyone's paying my thing. I don't know why.
Can
I
honestly
know
say,
why.
I didn't have my fingers in it.
I know why.
Oh, I don't, yeah.
Because it essentially came down that Pete and Lauren were getting $1 per hour that they should have been. It's pretty close to what the number would be.
Yeah, but if when Julian left, Julian was gone before that got put into place, though.
But
I mean, before-
I never talked about it. I didn't put, they had said, we're not gonna give anybody anything. We're gonna give everyone
Mm-hmm.
that 6%. I said, all right, I stood up and said, then take mine off the table. If that's what you're gonna do, and that's fair. I'm fine with it.
But it didn't get taken out of your line, though, right?
It must not have, but I never, but that's why we never,
Okay.
but that's why we never did. But that's why we never did a PAR, because I didn't know. Because like when I got the budget, when we started doing the budget thing, I figured it out, I go, why the hell is the lines all messed up? And no one had an answer.
No.
I don't know, I have no clue. I never expected it, I figured they would have said that was 2, and then just given me 3.
No, well, you guys walked in here tonight, that what was there was gonna be what it was. So that's why I was
Which is
like,
why I wanted to put it out public. I never said that. I just figured I would try to get them their thing now. Why, if it's already budgeted, are we waiting until next year?
yeah,
And just give them the 2, I was gonna bitch at them about it. But that he said, right, whatever, it is what it is. I wasn't even gonna ask, but he's brought it up, so I said, oh, then we'll roll with it.
well, I thought it was all, yeah, I thought it was all said and done.
But what I'm confused about is where the 7 grand came out.
Oh, that was just before, the one that wasn't agreed to? You mean before tonight?
Yeah. And he came and talked to you. I'm like, no, but I
Why
asked
did he
you.
talk to you? Okay.
He goes, you get did you get anything about this? I go, no.
I didn't even really read that email, but there was no reason to talk to you about that, because that was just a kind of a mistake kind of thing. It was just a,
I just wanted my money in, that's all I wanted. Whatever.
well,
I'll be late tomorrow.
but Chip didn't. Is he putting that in?
Who?
I mean,
Yeah.
in the end, he is. He's okay.
I
Yeah.
put in, but it never got talked about. It was
Right,
dropped.
because I said during the last meeting, I said, so,
And after that, because I was plowing, I started sending emails to,
yeah.
because I was like, what the,
And then,
why?
and then she was talking to him.
so they're really limiting it to it, but that's all I was trying to say. Like, if it's already budgeted, and you take it,
Everyone understood that you were
this has been, this has been the most frustrating budget I've ever seen. Yeah, I'm only doing my little one. You can imagine you. I have to drop my kids off at 8 at the school tomorrow, so I won't be until after that. Because there's no school.
You still have that, you know, where they,
Yeah, I know, but I'm supposed to be off, if this doesn't snow Wednesday, I'm going to Boston. Gonna bring Betty in for a checkup for her nose.
okay.
She's probably gonna make it next week. Dave, I can't get a physical in Newmarket. He got a friggin' Concord.
Why?
The lady that does Newmarket's out.
Again?
Julie's been trying to get a hold of him to set it up, but I'm not sending him to Concord. I'll just friggin' send him to the chiropractor in Brentwood where Pete goes and just pay for the thing. If I have to receive it to her. Yeah, chiropractors can do it.
No.
I'll just send him there, and then I'll just do an expense report and friggin' pay him back. Yeah. Yeah, later go. Have a good one.
Bye.
Well, I mean, I've got 3:30 to close, but I have a bad feeling that it's gonna take a long time.
Oh, yeah,
So
you have a really bad
faces are gonna
Writings.
be ready to mix in.
I get to be working and to make up for the time I wasn't here. All right, so we have a couple of issues. I first want to move to seal the non-public minutes.
Second.
Roll call vote. Any discussion? No. Roll call vote. Mr. Bugby?
Yes.
Ms. Hawthorne?
Yes.
Ms. Casper, yes. Now, we were discussing some issues with the calendar, and we were discussing that we need to have a building meeting next week with Reno. And what was the thing we were about to start? I said that should be discussed out in public.
Oh, what day we were meeting? To review the town deliberative session.
Okay, so on Friday the 2nd, we're going to discuss the preparing for the deliberative session. We wanted to know what time to be available. I'm guessing it's at night because that's after school's closed and everything's set up.
Well, we can certainly do it there at the school, or we can do it either here.
What's our goal for that run through? To just review the.
The past few years we've done it just to make sure that we have, all the systems are working, that we know everything's, yeah.
But I
Typos.
don't know that I'll be able to actually run that on Friday evening at the school.
Okay,
We'll
so,
certainly have the presentation, we can run through it here.
so let's do the presentation then. Do you want to do that in the morning? I can't do the morning. I could do after 11.
Sure.
You're at work,
I'll be
right?
at work.
So we're just you're gonna give us a copy of the stuff, so everyone can look at it at home.
I'm gonna give you a copy of the budget, I'm gonna give you a copy of the warrant, I'm gonna give you a copy of the presentation with the slides. I'm also, in addition to Denise, I'll pull Karen into that because Karen has a pretty good eye for catching.
Okay. So we're just gonna do, does that work for everyone, like 11, we'll just do an 11, just to go through as if, and we'll just do it in like a little meeting room,
Yeah.
whatever.
I think
Okay.
that would be perfect, just to make sure
Okay.
that there's nothing missing.
In what meeting? Our meeting?
Our meeting room or this meeting room, won't matter.
Wherever, well, yeah, probably yours, so you don't have to leave the building just to come back. So let's do it in the little, whatever, where we have
I don't,
meetings.
actually, we don't have a projector there though, so we might want to do it
Oh,
here, just so I
okay.
can show you what it's gonna look like on the wall. and
Okay,
We can run through it.
then run through deliberative
It's just the
At
3 of you, or 2 of you?
public safety complex, yes.
Anyone that can show up to
I
be here.
can't make it that early.
I'll make it and I'll just work later that night.
I will send everybody a copy of the PowerPoint slides too.
This is just so we don't trip and stumble on ourselves.
I feel like I made some notes for last year too.
Oh, I just put this on the wrong day, where'd it go? Ay, ay, ay. All right, anything else we need to discuss while we're,
As long as you guys are all set for tomorrow and have your schedule for that.
So for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh,
Voting.
voting, I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah,
tomorrow?
right. Voting day tomorrow, don't forget to vote.
Plan on staying there till 9 o'clock. At least.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
You are really excited.
She is a very stinky day to be there, but
I see.
I start teaching at 8 a.m., so I'll be leaving my house tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m.
nice, it's gonna be so fun. All right,
When are we meeting with Karina? When is that?
Monday, the 28th.
Oh, they're coming to our.
Yeah, and if, I've also, my last conversation with Evan was, he said, when do you want to meet with me and when do you want to see schematics? And I said, as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And this is,
ASAP.
Did you share with them those comments that people had made after Scott had shown?
Yes.
Okay.
About the bump out and all that stuff, and he's gonna show us which one makes more sense economically.
I'm just wondering.
All right. First state of file canvassing will be on the 24th of January. Just so everyone knows.
Last day is the 2nd?
Last day is the 2nd, yep.
That's not a very long time, huh?
Nope.
Week and a half.
Yeah, I feel like I only have like a week. All right, so, any other further business? I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned. I don't think we actually have to do any of that, you can just adjourn the meeting, but we're a democratic group, so.
Sure.